Hi, welcome back to another video of the Vit Nerd, and with me today is Jamie. And we're not doing the Atari FujiNet. You've seen me do a lot with the Atari FujiNet. We're actually going to be doing the Commodore FujiNet? FujiNet for Commodore? What would you say, Jamie?
Yeah, it's FujiNet for Commodore. Yep,
FujiNet for Commodore. And it's as simple as wiring, soldering on 6 wires onto this little development board and plugging it into the Commodore. Well, after we flash the ROM on it. So let's go ahead and get into that. Okay, so I'm going to put the Atari FujiNet aside. And Jamie, why don't you go ahead and you handle the Commodore side of FujiNet, right?
that is correct.
And originally came from, you started the Meatloaf project.
I did. I started the Meatloaf. It's called Meatloaf, and it was pretty much the same thing for Commodore as FujiNet was for the Atari. And when Tom had posted a message in the big Facebook Commodore group asking if anyone was interested in bringing this over to Commodore, that's when I found out about FujiNet. And
Oh, cool.
of course, yeah, that's when I started started looking at everything that they were doing. I was like, holy crap, I'm already working on this. So that's when I joined the Discord and was like, hey, this is what I've got so far, and this is what I'm working on, and I'll just use all of what I'm working on for Commodore and bring it over to use in the Commodore version of FujiNet. So
Nice.
I'm still keeping Meatloaf as a separate project because I have some things that I want to do with it that may or may not wind up in FujiNet.
Right, so as you were saying before, this Lolin development board with the ESP32 rover on it can do the Meatloaf project, that's what I call it, I guess, as well as FujiNet. So you could take this, wire it up, and you can either flash it for Meatloaf or flash it for FujiNet.
That's correct.
Okay,
Whichever firmware you want to use on it.
right. So Thomas Cherry Homes, as you just mentioned, uh, I have seen him reach out quite often across the socials, asking people, "Hey, can you do this? Can you do that?" So you heard that a year or so ago, and jumped on board to help out with it. That's pretty good.
Yeah, that's actually back in 2020. So it's been several years now.
Oh, oh, okay. Well, you and I met at VCF Southwest last year, uh, and that's where I discovered the Meatloaf project. So we're going to go ahead and solder this up. I've got the soldering iron going, and as you told me last year, it's been a year since you turned me on to this, and I'm finally getting to it. I just need to solder 6 wires onto the development board, which is available through AliExpress and other locations. And I forgot, what are these, like
That one's about 10, $12.
$12 for this, and some cable, and the IEC plug for the Commodore 64. And of course, Commodore, the SX64, I assume this works in the C128. Does it work with the VIC-20?
Port on it.
Okay,
IEC serial port on it. So yeah,
okay.
20 plus 4, Commodore 64, of course, the SX64, the 128. We've even tried it on the Commander X16. So
Oh, sweet. Okay.
it's a little slow because it is transferring at standard IEC serial speeds, which is about 300 bytes a second, which is very slow, but
Very fast for 80s standard, though, right?
right. Well, no, even for 80 standards, it was probably the slowest drive ever created because of some issues with manufacturing and some of the things,
Yeah.
some of the shift register issue on the Commodore. So you look,
Right, right.
you'll find more info on that. But people fix that with third-party things like Jiffy DOS and the fast loader cartridges and
Right.
that type of thing.
So that's why you're on the call today, because I'm an Atari guy, and I'm not a Commodore guy. So you're all Commodore and more so, but you're gonna tell me what pins on this thing to solder, right?
Correct.
I also want to mention for the viewers, this is kind of a new setup. I haven't done this with a person live on Zoom, and I've got this, well, I've got the downshot camera, but I've got the extra camera here, an old iPhone, so that Jaime can see on the Zoom. But can you see what I'm working with here?
I do see what you're working with there.
So where do we start? What wire do you want where?
Well, let me bring up a pinout first.
What's your favorite color to start with?
I would probably start with ATN, which would be red.
Let's pretend I don't know what these pins are, because that's really easy, because I don't know what these pins are. Very bottom.
Yes, the bottom pin there. Yes, that is ATN.
Okay, the very bottom middle, huh?
Yeah, bottom middle. That is actually pin 3 on the connector.
Oh, is it pin 3? I was going to guess pin 2, because I think on the Ataris they skip around. Okay, so pin 3 on the semicircle.
Do you have an apple or a potato?
Oh, to stick that in?
Yeah, it'll hold the pins straight. Putting that pressure on the pins when you're heating them up is going to probably make them bend. We don't want that. Having an apple or a potato or something, you can actually just jam it in and then solder the pins.
Well, I have an Apple IIc. Will that work?
I meant like a physical apple.
I know.
Oh, right.
Well, we're doing it. We're just doing it.
Okay, all right.
I like to solder dangerously.
Right, right, yeah. Okay, well, that's good. That's from here.
Oh, can you see it?
A little bit.
I had to turn it around so I could see it.
Right. Yeah.
Okay.
Angle there. Okay, that looks pretty good. All right.
Good.
Let's see. Our next pin, that would be to the left.
To the left. Okay.
So that would be clock, and then data is going to be that next pin around.
So the orange is clock, and I'm going to believe this is pin 2.
That is actually pin 4. Yeah.
Okay. Okay, I think we're good there.
And then data will be the next one up from clock.
Would that happen to be pin 5? And what color do you prefer for that?
That would be yellow.
Okay. So obviously these colors are arbitrary, but...
Are arbitrary, but in my mind, I just go, you know.
Right. And that's, we are using your mind today, so that's what we're doing.
Okay.
The only way I could make this simpler for me right now is if you were here soldering this. So, thank you for the help.
Yeah, no problem.
I'm going to put this here just for you to confirm at this point that we've got this going in the right direction.
Yes, that is the correct. What? Let's do the center pin first before we move.
Oh, right.
Yeah, and that's going to be the white wire. That's going to be reset. We're not
okay
on the other end of the board, but it can't hurt to have it hooked up here.
Okay, so just the note here, coming around, if for your view going counterclockwise, we got yellow and then orange and then red in the bottom center. And now we're going to put the white wire in the very center.
In the very center. That's the reset line.
Okay. And my helping hands here did put a little pressure on that last pin. I didn't move the connector, and it didn't bend the pin that much, but tiny bit. Could have been worse.
Okay. Hopefully it still lines up and we can jam it in there.
Yeah, it looks like it'll be good.
Okay.
But just for other people trying to do this, I'm trying to keep the helping hands from pushing on the pin I'm heating up because, as Jamie knows, because you've built so many of these, that it will just move the pins around. So you're using the when you use an actual potato, I assume not only is it holding the pins in place, but it acts as a decent heat sink.
It cools them down some too. I've actually got a board that a buddy of mine had made. Is from a project called the Potato from Sven Peterson. And it's just a jig to hold all of these DIN 6 or these DIN connectors in place while you solder the pins.
Yeah.
It's pretty nice. You take two of the boards and you stack them with a spacer between them, and then you can just stick the connector in place, and then it makes it real easy to just kind of hold everything straight while you're soldering the pins. You tin both of the pins before you try to connect them. Makes it a little easier to.
Yeah. I tend to carefully heat them up and then let the solder flow. But yeah, the trouble I am having right now is that pin is in the middle. It's like I'm looking at a room of mirrors, and I've got pins with pins and wires, and I get this in place, and then it moves. So
yeah.
They did not make these for hobbyists back in the day. Not as easy. Okay, so we're going to solder the white wire.
Then we just have two more on that side.
Okay, I did add a little flux to the pins on the connector, and that definitely helps with this.
Suck that solder up.
Yep. I try to start with like a minimal approach and then throw more at it if needed. What I do like about these projects is we're not doing surface mount connections that need 1 gigahertz bandwidth through the soldering joint you're doing, you know. Okay, we are 4 for 6. What do we got next, Jamie?
Okay, so next let's do the ground wire. That's going to be to the right of the ATN line, which is pin number 2, and then SRQ will be 1. So that'll be black to number 2, and then green to number 1, which is at top right of the connector.
I turned the connector and decided to touch up the white wire a little bit. Okay, so we got green and black, and you're saying use the black wire to go on
next to the red one, which is
okay. So going backwards in the numbering, that's pin 2. So how many days has it been since you burned yourself with a soldering iron?
It's been a little while. I did burn myself a couple weeks ago, though.
Oh yeah, soldering.
Yes.
Yep.
Of course.
It's always when something goes unexpected and you start moving around trying to figure out something and then lose track of where the heat is.
Right. Yeah, I was soldering something real tiny, and so the iron was close to my fingers, and I slipped and just burned the tip of my thumb.
And it happens fast.
Oh yeah.
I love that there's that internet picture of somebody's holding the soldering iron on the iron itself in the photo as they're it takes you a minute. You're looking at it going like, what is wrong? Oh my god, they're holding it on the heat part. So I think I'm getting the hang of this now, and I'm going to take a guess that the last wire goes on the last pin.
That is correct, and that is the SRQ line, and that goes to pin number 1.
Okay. Why didn't we start with 1?
I like starting in the middle there on those connectors. And the ATN line is one of the most important lines. So making sure that one's right is important. It's actually easier.
What I like is once you have enough wires on, you get a little more support. The other wires are holding things in place for you.
Yep, that's true. There you go. How's that look? Everything feels solid?
You know, after 45 years of Ataris. And, you know, I've opened Ataris, I've soldered things, I've done stupid things to them. And this is probably the first soldering project I've done for a Commodore.
Oh, sweet.
Okay, now we need to solder on to here.
Actually, one thing you need to do before you solder onto there is make sure and put that plastic shield back on the wire
Ah.
for the DIN 6, because that is something that's easily forgotten, and then and then
I wasn't even thinking.
remove everything. And
I was thinking of sliding this on, and I'm like, we'll wait. We'll do that when we're done soldering. Well, thanks for catching that. So that's Jamie's tech tip for the day here.
I have done it several times myself, so you get excited. You're like, oh, I'm almost done. All right, let's see. The pinout for that, we're going to use the IEC Nugget pinout.
Okay. So where are we starting?
All right, so ATN, which would be the red wire, goes to GPIO 32. If you look,
Yeah, but I look really hard.
yeah.
Now, do you prefer soldering on have the wires come off the back side or wires come off the top side?
I usually bring them off the top side,
Do you? Okay.
but you know, either side is fine.
Well, I know there's a case you can print for it, and probably fits better in the case that way.
Yeah, 32 is ATN and 33 is clock.
Okay, on the board itself, it's silk screened A and then T-LED.
Yes, that's 32. AT LED 32. Yep,
Sweet.
that's 32. Does it
Okay.
say 32 there? Does it say 32 on the board?
It does have 32 next to it, yep.
Got it. Okay, cool. Yep.
It's goofy because it goes 27, 26, 25, 33, 32, 34.
Right. Well, those pin numbers are the pins that are coming off of the actual ESP32 chip inside that module. So that's why they're numbered like that. They're not numbered in the order that they are in the rows, you know.
Yeah, that's what I was guessing.
Yep.
Now, this is kind of fun because the Atari FujiNets I have, I purchased completed and never put that together. So let's see. 32.
And then orange is going to go right next to that one and on pin 33.
Okay. Okay, good. What's the third one that you'd like soldered next?
SRQ is going to be pin 27, so we drop down a few pins there. So 27.
Okay.
Be the green. That's going to be the green wire.
Now, you had mentioned that City Zen did a video putting this together, right?
Yep.
We'll go ahead and put a link in the description for that video as well if people wanted to go check out a second source. It's always good to watch 2, 3, or more videos when you go to do a project.
Yeah, a slightly different pinout on that one.
Oh, really? Oh, okay. We're using a different development board?
No, same board, just a little different pinout. We're using a pinout that utilizes the reset pin. We're not going to use that here just to stay consistent with the IEC Nugget firmware.
Okay.
This pinout that we're using, you can actually get a plug for the TFT port on that Lolin D32 Pro module there.
Yeah.
You can put the DIN plug on the end of that and then just plug it in.
Huh.
So, and this pinout is compatible with that.
Very versatile.
Yeah.
Well, I just had a thought. Can you actually wire up an SIO connector on here for the Atari? I mean, not that the code is all set for that, but can you run 2 different FujiNets off the one development board?
You could technically add an SIO port to this, but you'd want to buffer the lines.
Yeah, yeah. I'm just wondering if that would open up some kind of like a multi-retro server, board. Get them all on Wi-Fi on the one board. Be kind of fun.
It would be cool. It'd be fun.
I say, so green on 27.
That is correct. Green on 27. And then we're going to put
There we go. Okay.
awesome. Pin 14, which is right next to that, is
Yes.
our data line, which is yellow.
Okay. Well, luck has it, I have a yellow wire.
That's great.
It's getting a little harder to finagle these. Okay, yellow to 14.
Yeah. You know what? Since we're not using the TFT port, we can wire up the reset line. Let's do that. Yeah, let's do that. That's going to go on pin 34, which is the pin just above the ATN, which is red. Or well, it's going to be white.
Okay, so we'll wire up white to pin 34. Where is the black wire going?
Oh yeah, the black wire is ground, so we're going to connect that to ground at the. If you're looking at the back of the Lolin D32 Pro, it's going to be the top left pin.
Oh, all the way over there. Okay. I'm going to have to cut the jacket on this a little bit. Okay, so let's get back to the white wire first. And was it 34 you said?
Correct.
Okay.
Pin 34.
I've been having luck so far twisting the stranded wire. I probably should have tinned it. It's not soldered yet, but it's in. Okay, 34 is on.
Now you just need ground.
Well, let's cut the jacket some more here without mucking up everything. And I need to make it over there. Getting so much. Okay, it can read. So the last one, wires, 6 wires, you said. We're finishing that up.
Yeah.
Okay, turn the soldering iron off. And let me just grab clippers here quick. Okay, so this is all wired up. And honestly, I'm thinking that, you know, for the user, this is the hard part. But you guys have done really the hardest part, which is programming all this, getting this all figured out to actually work. So right now, this is just a dumb development board with no code on it.
Yep. The next step is to get it flashed with some firmware.
Okay. People could go up to the GitHub for FujiNet and download a file that's available.
Just a beta version of this in there to make it easy to flash it.
Okay, let's get this jacket on here. Okay, completed. How's that?
That looks awesome.